Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Excited, hopeful, upset, and scared. Those are some of the local reactions to the verdict against former President Donald Trump. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amita Sharma, in for Maya Trabulsi. Trump was convicted Thursday of 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen went around town to talk to San Diegans about the historic verdict.
November 5th, remember, November 5th is the most important day in the history of our country.
A day after being the first former president to be convicted of a felony, Trump is making it clear that he's focused on November as he seeks another 4 years in the White House. In San Diego, his conviction hasn't changed how some people feel about the presumptive Republican nominee.
No, it won't change I would never vote for Trump, for God's sakes.
And I do support our President Trump.
In Balboa Park, Republican Trump supporter Oscar Castellanos says the verdict was a sham and more evidence of the Democratic Party taking over.
I feel upset. Seeing a great country, slowly falling, coming down. One of the greatest powers in the world slowly coming down. As a Californian, it's scary because we are in a Democrat state, so it is kind of scary.
Claremont resident John Rowe, who is an independent voter, thought the jury gave a sincere and honest verdict.
Given all the insurmountable evidence against Trump, it was pretty clear that was the only fair verdict would be in that direction.
He says he's never been a fan of Trump, so the verdict hasn't changed his mind. In Hillcrest, Chavi Valdez says the verdict gives her hope that the system works as it should.
There are checks and balances in place that protect us from certain personalities that may come about in our political system, and I'm just very grateful that those are in place, and I hope that they continue as strongly as they are.
In University Heights, Jarek Zachary was more surprised by the guilty verdict than anything.
So far, him as an official has shown that he can get away with a lot, and so I didn't really think that any body or jury was really gonna keep him accountable.
Trump's sentencing is scheduled for July 11th, a few days before the Republican National Convention. He could face up to 4 years in jail, though legal experts say that's unlikely. The conviction does not affect Trump's ability to run for president. It's difficult to know if it will impact how voters feel about him come November. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
Vice President Kamala Harris visited San Diego today, but only for a few hours. Our media partner, KGTV, was there as her motorcade arrived in Rancho Santa Fe. The VP was there to speak at a political fundraiser before heading back to Los Angeles. Harris was met by protesters, including those from the Palestinian Youth Movement, who said the VP was not welcome in San Diego. The Biden administration is expected to roll out a sweeping executive action on the border as early as Thursday. That's according to two sources familiar with the discussions, but the sources warn that the exact timing for the announcement is fluid. The executive action will reportedly dramatically limit migrants' ability to seek asylum at the southern border with Mexico. San Diego Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs is home from Washington this weekend and stopped by the campus of Mesa Community College. As KPBS education reporter MG Perez tells us, she came with an announcement about federal funding. Also, she had something to say on the issue of campus protests in support of Gaza.
What's your name? Gia. Nice to meet you, Gia. They just might be some of the youngest constituents of U.S. Representative Sarah Jacobs. These are children of parents who are also students here at Mesa Community College. It's a tough assignment for anyone trying to complete their education and care for their young loved ones.
I know the struggle. I know how hard it was.
Alexis Primo just graduated last week with an associate's degree in Black Studies and another in sociology, an honor she shared with her two children, 6-year-old Ethan and 4-year-old Zara.
We need educated parents so that they could get better jobs and move further in upward mobility and contribute more towards the community.
Alexis was able to spend some of her study time here in the Mesa College Family Resource Center, a safe space for student parents and their children to be together during the school day.
That means that more parents will get the breathing room they need to finish their homework and care for their families.
An additional $500,000 of congressional funding will support improvements at the Miramar College Police Academy, adding more staff and a new crime scene investigation lab to prepare cadets. Federal funding for community college campuses is one thing. Federal funding for the Israel-Hamas war is another, and there are students at UC San Diego ready to strike. Earlier this month, hundreds of students and their supporters protested on campus, demanding the university divest from its Israeli financial interests, which led to arrests and the dismantling of a Gaza Solidarity encampment. UAW academic workers today announced they will start picket lines Monday morning at UCSD, joining the ongoing stand-up strikes on other UC campuses. Representative Jacobs stands with them and not their critics.
They feel like young people aren't engaged or young people don't care, when actually what we're seeing is young people right now across the country speaking up about their values. Values that are being shared campus to campus.
Parents will be more successful at graduating or transferring, like I did.
She starts at San Diego State in the fall. MG Perez, KPBS News.
Meanwhile, police moved in to disperse a crowd of protesters at UC Santa Cruz earlier today. Dozens of officers in riot gear surrounded a student encampment as some stood with arms linked together. This after around 200 demonstrators completely blocked roadways in and out of campus. Police say several arrests were made. Protesters are calling for the university to divest from Israel. The former superintendent of Poway Unified School District has filed a lawsuit against the district. Marion Kim Phelps was fired in April after an investigation into her apparent bullying of Del Norte High School students. Phelps allegedly targeted members of the softball team after her daughter did not receive adequate applause at an athletic awards ceremony. In her lawsuit filed Thursday, Phelps denies these allegations and claims she wasn't given a fair hearing by the school board. The complaint asks the court to set aside the termination. A spokesperson for Poway Unified did not respond to a request for comment before our broadcast. Road safety advocates rallied today calling for improvements to protect pedestrians and cyclists at San Diego's deadliest intersections. KPBS reporter Katie Anastas spoke to a woman whose husband was killed at one of them.
4 years ago, a driver hit and killed Jason Gordon while he was walking in Sherman Heights. He was 41 years old. He left behind 1-year-old twin daughters and his wife, Katie.
So it was very tragic for our family to be a solo mom at such a young age in their development. And he was just that family guy and the friend guy and just a loving person that was he's just so missed, you know?
Gordon and others rallied at the site of his death Friday at the intersection of Market and 19th Streets. It's one of the 15 deadliest intersections for pedestrians and cyclists in San Diego. Advocates call them the Fatal 15. Mayor Todd Gloria's proposed budget puts $33 million toward efforts to eliminate traffic deaths, including adding traffic signals, guardrails, bicycle facilities, and other projects. But advocates say 7 of the fatal 15, including where Jason Gordon was killed, aren't on the list. They're asking the City Council to add funding for 3 kinds of safety improvements at these intersections: stripes, signals, and sounds. That means white stripes at crosswalks, crosswalk countdowns, and sounds letting pedestrians know whether to wait or go.
This is like a huge intersection where people are increasing speed to get on the freeway, and there's no countdown or signal this way.
Circulate San Diego estimates those safety improvements would cost about $100,000 per intersection. Another deadly intersection is at Rosecrans and Moore Streets in the Midway District. Circulate San Diego Policy Council Will Moore would like to see a crosswalk added here.
There's no traffic signal here. There's a traffic signal over here at about 1/8 of a mile this way, about 1/8 of a mile that way, but nowhere to cross here, and people do cross the intersection pretty frequently.
Beth Osborne with the national advocacy group Smart Growth America says adding more visible crosswalks partway down a busy road can help reduce speeding.
They can see as they're going down the road, there will be many points where they need to stop or potentially, and therefore they won't go speeding down the road in a way that makes it impossible for them to stop where they're supposed to.
Smart Growth America published a report this week analyzing the most recent national traffic death data. They found that in 2022, more than 1/3 of traffic deaths were pedestrians or cyclists, a 40-year high.
At some point, these decisions are decisions of where to allocate budgets, where to make investments, and where to say enough is enough. We're tired of teddy bears tied to poles. We're tired of candles on sidewalks. That it is just not acceptable for this many people to die.
Gladney says elected officials have the power to fix streets he calls dangerous by design. Advocates say if San Diego leaders don't allocate more funding, some intersections will remain deadly for at least another year.
Small investment can go a long way in saving a life.
Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
After years of delays, the mastermind behind one of the largest bribery and fraud schemes in military history is set to be sentenced this November. Former Navy contractor Leonard Glenn Francis pleaded guilty to bribery and fraud charges in 2015. He was not sentenced at the time because he was the government's star witness against dozens of Navy officials facing bribery and conspiracy charges. He escaped from house arrest in San Diego and fled to Venezuela in 2022. He returned to the U.S. in a prisoner swap in December and is in custody in San Diego. In court today, the judge set Francis's sentencing for November 5th.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the News Hour, reaction and analysis of the historic guilty verdict in Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
This weekend brings a pivotal moment for our neighbors across the border. Mexico is holding its presidential election. This week, KPBS border reporter Gustavo Solis moderated a bilingual discussion on what's being called one of the biggest elections in Mexico's history. In addition to president, more than 20,000 positions will be decided by voters. It's all available on the KPBS YouTube page. The election is Sunday, and we'll have updates at kpbs.org. The long-discussed ferry service connecting San Diego to Ensenada may be up and running soon. The mayor of Ensenada and the president of the Ensenada Economic Development Department met with the City of San Diego officials yesterday. They spoke to our media partner KGTV about the progress of the project and the opportunities it will bring.
We have the procedures already established, for the immigration process. And believe it or not, people from San Diego go to Long Beach to take a cruise to go to Ensenada. But this is going to be faster, quicker, and more friendly.
According to the Port of San Diego, the California Air Resources Board has conditionally approved the ferry vessel. Online trials by Azteca Ferries, the company spearheading the project, show rides lasting 2.5 to 3 hours. The mayor says he's hopeful the ferry service could be up and running as soon as September. As many supermarkets deal with inflation and consolidation, one brand is expanding. SDSU's Mira Kopik tells us how Trader Joe's is growing in San Diego County in the Friday Business Report.
Trader Joe's, has grown from one store in the LA area to over 549 locations in 42 states and the District of Columbia. And yes, they're going to open 24 stores this year. Unlike a lot of other chains recently, there's been a lot of consolidation in the industry. In that environment, Trader Joe's is immensely not only popular, but relatively profitable. There's going to be 8 in Southern California, 2 here in San Diego and Poway and Santee. So they're really kind of locating in parts of the county where they have big geographic holes. So a little bit east and a little bit northeast as well, and also in Murrieta. So even though that's in Riverside County, it's right there near Temecula. So along this 15 corridor in particular, it's an important part. There's a lot of people that are middle, from low to upper middle income consumers. These are the key targets for Trader Joe's.
The North County LGBTQ Resource Center is kicking off Pride Month with its annual Pride by the Beach tomorrow. It takes place in downtown Oceanside and features speakers, entertainment, and resources for the whole family. Roxanne Dethridge is the director of the event.
This year, our theme is Our Stories, Our Power. It couldn't be more timely. In a world where it's easy to feel isolated by challenges and differences, our stories have served as bridges connecting us through shared experiences and mutual understanding. Each story told is a spark of hope, illuminating the way of those who may feel lost or alone.
The street festival drew over 20,000 people last year and continues to grow. It will be from noon to 6 p.m. near the Oceanside Civic Center. And as it prepares for Pride by the Beach, the Resource Center is also getting ready to grow. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne tells us what's on the horizon.
So welcome to our little center that could. We called it like that many years ago because from such a small space, we have so many dreams happening every day.
Max Disposti is the founder and executive director of the North County LGBTQ Resource Center, which runs out of a 2,400 square foot space in Oceanside.
People come here for any kind of reason. We go from people stopping by because they want to have access to our reading, to our library or resources, or sometimes because they're just being surviving sexual assault attack or trafficking or any kind of trauma that people might experience out in the streets.
27 staff members run the center, and space for them and the clients being served is tight.
We provide behavioral health just right here in the room. We have telehealth and in-person behavioral health. It's free mental health services. We serve about 86 people per week at the moment.
The same space is shared with youth services.
So here, this is our slash everything space youth space, but also we do a lot of services around working with schools. Lately, there's been a lot of conversation around book banning, and so our youth are organized together to create prom event and experiences where they can feel safe, GSA awards, but also we go through the schools in North San Diego County to make sure that our kiddos are safe and supported.
Disposti says a lot of their work and education also happens on the outside of the center.
But also now government agency, nonprofit institutions, and also for-profit corporations are reaching out to us because they want to do better. They want to make sure their employees, their family, are treated the way they're supposed to be treated, with dignity and respect.
And bigger projects have come out of the small space, like Unicorn Homes and Villages for homeless LGBTQ youth, North County's first Pride event, Pride by the Beach, food distributions for all community members, and supportive advocacy on the front lines for a range of issues throughout the North County. So while they've made the small space work, something bigger is on the way.
This is 1919 Apple Street, which is the place that we just enter escrow into. We're really excited. It is a transformational step for us and for the services that we provide at the center.
The majority of the 18,000 square foot property on Apple Street is empty and in need of repairs. But the site already has a history of serving those in need, from temporary shelters to food banks.
It's a space that has a lot of promises because we're literally walking distance from the train station that brings people from Escondido to our center. Since we are providing services in North San Diego County, for us that was the most important thing.
The price tag for the property is $4.5 million. The center needs to come up with an $800,000 down payment by the end of the year to purchase the property.
And we're asking people in the community to come forward, and because this is a community center, it's not just an LGBT center. So we'll be here for everybody, not just the LGBT community. This is the building that's going to host, with a lot of love and tending care and making it look a little bit more colorful, is going to be the building that will provide the services to everyone.
This posting knows not everyone may be supportive of the expansion.
I invite them in. I invite them asking the questions. All our books are open. We know where the money goes. We are supported by county, state, and federal funding and local city Oceanside. So invite people to really be even critical about the resources that we provide, because we're here to improve them and make sure that people feel comfortable that, hey, I know where my $20 or $200,000 went to, and we invite you to do so because this is your space too.
The North County LGBTQ Resource Center hopes to move in as tenants in September and finalize the purchase by the end of the year. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
As we head into your weekend, we are looking at more of the same for us. So the upcoming days, really not a whole lot of change. We're going to keep the morning clouds as we continue through time. Temperatures for the weekend, pretty similar to what we've been dealing with for the past couple of days. And guess what? As we get into next week, our desert locations, our interior locations, middle and late part of next week does get slightly warmer. So we're going to be talking about above historical average temperatures. That's mostly beyond the 5-day that we could be looking at that. Heading through tonight, the city going back down into the upper 50s. Notice the clouds coming in at Oceanside, 59 degrees. Borrego Springs also holding on to the upper 60s there. So things are going to be developing with the clouds. Then tomorrow, sunshine breaks out. All part of this high pressure system that keeps building more dry weather and heat too. Places like Las Vegas well into the triple digits. So it's really building through the deserts of the Southwest. But for us, again, not quite as impactful for most of our areas. And you can tell tomorrow, 68 for the high in the city. Head to Ramona, 79 degrees. Borrego Springs, 103. There's that triple digit on the board, but overall for us, again, a lot of us avoiding that. Have been some showers and thunderstorms through the interior Southwest. All of that goes away. What we will find is a little bit of a change in our flow pattern. It's going to start to pick up out of the Southwest across the interior Southwest, but we still keep a lot of that coastal impact, which is why we have the marine layer each morning to start off with, then fading away as we head through the day. High temperatures venturing into the lower 70s for the week to come at the coast. As you work your way through inland communities, we are still talking about mid-70s on the board. A couple of clouds out there as we work our way through the middle of the start of next work week, I should say. And as we venture then to the mountain communities, 60s on tap here. Very comfortable if you can be out and about for the weekend in the mountains. It does look pretty nice. Our desert communities, that's where we find those highs back to the triple digits, even venturing through the lower triple digits there. 102 for the high on Wednesday, could even go up a little bit more as we head into the later part of next week. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
Runners are taking over the streets of San Diego for the Rock and Roll Running Series this weekend. More than 30,000 runners are expected to participate. It all kicks off with a 5K race tomorrow in Balboa Park. On Sunday, the half and full marathons will lead runners through several San Diego neighborhoods before finishing at Waterfront Park. Many roads will be closed Sunday during the races. And musicians, artists, and chefs are taking over one of San Diego's busiest neighborhoods this weekend. KPBS reporter Jacob Bear says this year's North Park Music Festival is focusing on music beyond borders.
With more than 40 local acts and 3 outdoor stages, the North Park neighborhood will be transformed for the North Park Music Festival. One of those local acts is Chula Vista's own Jackie Mendoza, who says she's proud to be a part of the action.
It's just kind of full circle to be able to perform in front of, my friends, family, and along with other artists that I know, like Parque de Cometas from Tijuana.
Mendoza draws inspiration from both sides of the San Diego-Tijuana border and sings in both English and Spanish. She describes her music as a blend of a lot of genres, which started with musical theater in her early years.
As I got older, I started being influenced by electronic music, techno, psychedelic rock, Latin pop. So it's really a blend of all of that.
Jim Sackerson is organizing the festival. He says this year there's an extra push to highlight artists from Southern and Baja California.
I think we have everything from bluegrass and jazz to hardcore and electronica and indie rock, so kind of everything in between.
The festival also includes a wide variety of local food, drinks, and art.
A lot of the visuals, a lot of the art will be best at night because it is projection, light mapping, and things. So I definitely encourage people, if they do come in the afternoon, stick around, wait till after dark to see. That's when a lot of the magic's going to happen.
Headliners for this year's third annual event include Fantastic Negrito, Particle Kid, and Ty Segall, and a special reunion show for one other act.
So we have a very iconic San Diego band, Louis XIV, coming back for the first time in 10 years, so kind of a 10-year anniversary for them. Another very iconic San Diego band, Transfer, that's playing.
Sackerson says the North Park Music Festival is family-friendly and runs from 4 to 10 on Friday and noon to 10 on Saturday. Tickets can be bought online at northparkmusicfest.org. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Amitha Sharma. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.